at Berkeley, have been there since '93, so coming up on, what is that? 29 years now. Yeah. So my 30th year. Maybe I'll get some kind of. I think for 10 years they give you a plaque, and 25 years they give you something else. But you know what I mean. I don't know what I'm getting for 30, but yes, I've been there a long time, and I'm supposed to be there now. You know what I mean? What's today? Today is Tuesday. No, I'm not. I'm usually at the college on Wednesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. So I'm missing the first 2 weeks of the semester, because of touring in Europe. But I've done that many times. I just make up all the work when I get back. So I'll be very, very busy when I'll be working around the clock when I get back to Boston. Do I enjoy it? Yes. Would I love to just make records and tour and stuff? Yes, but it's, unless you're on a very high level, it's hard to make a living anyway. So plus so the fact that I'm doing that, it works out great, because now I have the freedom to go tour and make records. Plus I have the stability of having a regular regular steady job, and with things like insurance and a pension and all those types of things. So it's it's great. It's like the best of both worlds. But I enjoy anything guitar related, whether I'm teaching at Berkeley, whether I'm doing a master class, whether I'm doing a clinic, whether I'm playing a tour. Anything that involves, whether I'm at home practicing or composing, or whether I'm making records, anything that involves guitar, I'm all in. So for me, it's always great. Yeah. No, every day it's different, and different, different things, different, and sometimes I will be in a lesson with one of my students, and it will remind me of oh yeah, I'd like to work on that a bit myself, or I might discover I might be playing a piece of a Bach invention, and then during somebody's lesson I discover a new fingering for a passage, or I was doing or an example is I was doing invention number 13 with a bunch of my students, and helping them with all the fingerings and stuff. And then I took a bunch of the ideas from the invention, and I did this Knock J.S. Bach piece on my last solo record. And, that kind of, stemmed from some of that. So there's, it's quite nice. Oh yeah, I've had many students that have been very, very successful. And they got, I believe they released a new record. Dave Davidson from Revocation, who was a tremendous player and a tremendously, he's an amazing musician, a tremendous player, and an amazingly, nice dude. And when he was younger, when he was at Berkeley, he took a few classes with me, but he predominantly studied jazz, because Dave loves jazz, and Dave brings some of that. He brings some of the, he'll incorporate elements of jazz into the Revocation stuff.
I've listened this afternoon.
Oh, nice. Yeah. It's amazing, yeah, because in fact, one of his other professors, Colin Sapp, who was a tremendous, he's a very close friend of David's, and, he worked with him quite a bit, and he's a tremendous fusion player, just monstrous. And, I think Colin, suggested for him to make the record a little bit more organic, almost with an approach like the Mastodon guys a bit, you know what I mean, to make it sound a little bit, but he's tremendous, and so it's nice to see him doing well, and he studied with me a bit at Berkeley, but he would come over my apartment sometimes and take lessons when he was younger, and I had him in a couple summer program things too. So it's nice to have an impact on these guys that it's not like they owe it all to me, but it's nice. And Gus G from Firewind as well. I mean, Gus didn't really go to Berkeley. I met him there, but I met him at Berkeley, but he used to come over to my house twice a week for lessons. I was kind of like his mentor. So those are two guys that come to mind immediately, that have gone on to do. But other guys like, I had Rob Caggiano that plays in Volbeat now, and then he played in Anthrax, and Rob's from, he talks like me. He's a New York guy, and so he studied with me a few semesters at Berkeley and stuff, and I work with him. So many, a whole bunch of different students from, I forget, I think it was Joel, one of the Kill Switch guys, from Kill Switch Engage, he studied with me. And as well as I remember reading an article, one of my students had an article about the Trivium guys, and they asked one of the guys what he likes to listen to, and he said, he mentioned a bunch of metal stuff, and then he said also shred guitar players like Michelangelo Badio and Joe Stump, and then he actually took one of my metal master classes during the summer, so many guys,
Should be proud of this.
Yeah, well, it's not like everybody, they do it through, you do it through hard work, it's not like, yes, and they owe it all to me, you know what I mean? Without me, no, they did it on their own, but I was glad to help. Yes, I love classical music, and I love I love classical music. I love Tchaikovsky. I love Bach, of course. I love Vivaldi. I love, and I listen to, I love all the Baroque, I like Haydn. I like, I like Mozart. I like Beethoven. I like, Paganini. And so I listen to many different things. Yeah, well, on my records, and granted, do I love classical music? Yes. Did I play classical music as, when I was developing? Yes. But, of course, being heavily inspired by both Ritchie Blackmore and Yngwie Malmsteen also strengthened my love for classical music, too. It's not like I discovered classical music through them, but maybe I developed a deeper devotion to it through listening to them as well. And, so there's that aspect of it. Well, Tower of Babel, was created, a bunch of years ago. I want to say maybe 4 or 5 years ago, and then, we released the first record, Lake of Fire, and then we had a big falling out with the singer Chaba Svekin, not just myself, but the entire band, and then we just Joe had played with Maestro Mysteria. He did some work for him on the Vivaldi Metal project. The maestro suggested that that Joe might be a strong choice for Tower of Babel, and I heard him, and immediately I thought the same thing. So it's great working with him. He's got a tremendous voice. He's a great singer, and I like his lyrics and melody lines, and I love the way he sings. Well, I'm the only American in the band. Because and to me, like, hard rock and metal is a European art form anyway, to a certain extent. All my favorite, like as I often say, the only guitar player from America I listen to is Hendrix, because all of my favorite guitar players, Yngwie Malmsteen, Swedish, Ritchie Blackmore's, English, Michael Schenker and Uli John Roth are German, Gary Moore was Irish, you know what I mean? So all of my heroes are all, not Americans. And so in Tower of Babel, I'm the other two, the bass player and Maestro are Italian, and Mark is from the UK. And Joe, of course, I believe his original Italian descent, maybe somebody on the side of his family is Italian, maybe his father, and then, his mom is French, but when you talk to him, he really speaks, like a Frenchman. Most of it is, all the guitars have been done quite a while. Most of the just about all the vocals are done, minus, a few things, and now everybody's recording the bass and drums and the keyboards.
Where did you record, or what do you record?
Well, I recorded all of, I write all the material, and the material walks the line between, like most of it's like Rainbow, of course. And so there's a couple tracks that are more bluesy or hard rock, like Deep Purple-ish. And then there's like some stuff that's a little bit more, aggressive in metal. Could sound like an early Dio solo thing, or an early Yngwie thing. But So I recorded all the guitars at home, and like everything in this day and age, everybody works, at home instead of like all record. Unless you're a larger band, everybody recording together is really not a realistic thing. Although it would be awesome. Yeah, Francisco Palomo, who engineered the last Tower Babel record, and he, keyboard player with me in Holy Hell. He did the last one. He's going to be doing this one as well. Yeah, I played many times in not many times in France, but many times in Europe, because Holy Hell, we used to tour, be on tour with Manowar all the time, and Manowar was predominantly very popular in Germany. So I played and then I've toured as like a solo artist, plus with Holy Hell, plus with Alcatrazz. Plus, done shows with my own thing, my own thing, plus Reign of Terror, plus, a couple other things I've done. So yeah, I've been to Europe many times.
So many projects.
Yeah. So many different things over the years. But now it's really, predominantly my solo thing, Joe Stump's Tower of Babel, and Alcatrazz, of course. The most important thing for me is to be relaxed, and I'm always in control and command. I mean, this show is, for me personally, it's a bit more difficult because I just came off. Normally I was gonna, if I was going to be doing the Tower of Babel thing. I would be, let's say I wasn't touring with Europe in Europe with Alcatrazz, I would go home, I would work on all the Tower of Babel stuff, and then I would be, immaculately well prepared, and where I'm like to the point of being over prepared, and then I would come in and do the show. Now I'm kind of scrambling a bit for me, because I'm very meticulous when it comes to that. So tomorrow we have a rehearsal, but so since I've been so busy, I haven't had I worked on the Tower of Babel stuff quite a bit before I started the Alcatrazz tour, but now really haven't had a chance to play any of it since, for the last month.
Is it kind of a one-shot?
It's just the one show. Originally we were trying to organize 3, but logistically it seemed like it wasn't going to work out, as far as the bottom line money end of it would have been like a bit more of an expense than we anticipated. But we're going to be originally we were just going to rehearse one day, but now luckily we have 2 days of rehearsal. So it should be pretty good. And all the guys in the band are all great players. Mark Ross on drums, of course. Mark's played with the Scorpion. He subbed for the Scorpions, did a thing with Halloween, Firewind, and he's great. And Maestro Mysterious played with many people. He's amazing, and Nick, the bass player, he's awesome too. I think he did a stint with Jorn Land, and he's played with a bunch of people. So they're all like very good music. And Joe, of course, is killer. So they're all very good musicians. So it's when Friday rolls around, we'll be ready to do some damage. Well, I recorded all the guitars like over the last 6 months for the next Alcatrazz record, because I came off a tour with Alcatrazz in the UK at the end of last year, and what happened was usually, and so and then I had tested positive for COVID, but I wasn't sick at all. But I couldn't, I had to stay home. So all I was doing was playing but I felt fine. So all I was doing was playing and practicing. So I wrote a good amount of the next Alcatrazz record during that period. And then what happened, the holidays were there, and normally during the holidays I would go on vacation, but that was that period where COVID was ramped back up, and then all of the airlines were like, you know, like shorthanded in the States, and it was very hard to travel. So I didn't end up doing anything during, you know, the break I had in the winter. So I wrote a bunch more, you know, during that. So yeah, the next Alcatrazz record, it's pretty much all recorded. Then it's just a matter of, you know, a few, you know, I think Doogie's got to do a couple more things on it, and then it's got to be mixed and mastered. But you know, that'll be out next year. The new Tower of Babel will be out next year. So 2023, I'll have 2 records out.
Great.
Yeah, that's enough. You know. You know, that's enough making records for now. And then, you know, eventually I'll do another solo record, but I'm not in a big hurry. You know, I'll probably concentrate on Alcatrazz and Tower of Babel. Plus, in the States, you know, I play regionally in the Northeast. I have a Deep Purple tribute and I have a Rainbow tribute. So I play shows with those two, you know what I mean? So I'm in like 6 bands or something, you know? So it's always fun for me between working at the college and then, you know, everything I got going on. You know, I'm playing guitar like 8 to 10 hours a day, whether I like it or not. Well, I mean now it's all like the guitar sound to me is always about like now many of the newer bands that are, you know, Meshuggah is kind of they are the forefathers of what you know people would refer to as djent now. Do I know much about it? No, but you know I'm of course aware of all the great djent bands that whether it's, you know, Periphery or of course Animals as Leaders, you know, Tosin, and you know and many other you know, like whether it's djent stuff or you know, more technical death metal stuff. Like there's a great technical metal band, I believe they're Canadian, called Archspire, where, you know, the guys are, you know, like I'm exposed to these things by my students, you know, or what's that other band, Ezra maybe, you know, or Era, or I'm trying to think of the name.
The name of the band is?
Yeah, you know, or what's another band? Vitalism, you know, I mean, so I'm exposed to those things through my students, and you know, and the sound of the guitar is much different than your traditional metal sound, you know what I mean? But you know, it's like that because it has to serve that kind of music. You know, you can't play some of those things with a traditional, you know, Marshall type of setup. You know what I mean? I'm old, so I play a Strat. You know what I mean? Only 6 strings, only 22 frets, and I use Marshalls. You know, but you know you can't play that kind of music with, you know, with traditional tools. You know, so to me, all that stuff is about, you know, and now technology has come where like it's much easier to get a great tone recording with all the plugins and all of the you know, they have specific guitar plugins that are great for like that kind of music too. So you know, in like with what, so I think all that stuff is tremendous and cool. I mean, I still record like pretty much the old school way. I use some direct things, but you know, I still mic up an amp, and you know, I have a whole, you know, I have many Marshalls, you know, so any kind of direct thing, any kind of plug-in or anything I would use, I would want it to sound like a Marshall. And I have a basement full of Marshall stacks, you know what I mean? I have like, you know, 6 cabinets and 10 heads and stuff. So for me, I'm still doing it the old school way, but that's because I'm, you know, as I like to say, I'm old school because I'm old.